So I've been playing more games recently. Who would have thought it? I had 4 games for you last time, and this time 2 that you can purchase right now, as well as a few upcoming ones that are on my radar that I think deserve some more attention. These games I've been playing recently, coincidentally, have a kind of chill racing type vibe, which worked out in terms of theming this video. Let's kick things off with Wheel World, a fantastical biking game. Playing the demo for Wheel World earlier this year, it seemed like something that might be extremely up my alley. I'm majorly pro-bike. One of my favorite things to do in the summer is to go out and ride around. It's honestly kinda underrated. I'm fully bike-pilled now. Bikers are indeed the most oppressed group. We gotta fight for our right to go slowly up hills with a million cars behind us waiting in traffic. Car bros, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but your time is coming to an end. I think in one of my previous videos where I covered the demo for Wheel World, I said that this could be Breath of the Wild but with bikes, which is an extremely bold statement to make about an indie game, and also testament to the fact that apparently every single video I have to make a reference to The Legend of Zelda. I get the uncontrollable urge to name drop. Can you tell it's my favorite game series? Perhaps expectedly, this is actually more of a Forza Horizon but with bikes type game. Of course though, an indie title having the scope to allow itself to be compared to a tentpole title like that is still incredibly impressive. There's a very strong aesthetic sense at the core of Wheel World. The cel-shaded graphics are striking, with these washed out pastel sort of colors underneath a beaming blue sky. It really feels like a digital escape into the countryside. There are fantastical elements to the setting and scenario presented by Wheel World, which might put off some people who would prefer something more grounded. But for me, I felt like it was the ideal mix of familiar real-world elements, just twisted enough in order to make the map a sort of theme park playground for bikes. Essentially, Wheel World is a racing title that utilizes the Forza Horizon sort of blueprint of making a large map and setting up races within this map, which you will have to explore in order to find. Of course, there are also lots of different secrets to find, like ramps to jump off, different bike parts, cyclists to face off against 1v1, and other open world style checklist objectives. There are 2 maps in Wheel World. The first one is a Euro-inspired island area, with farmland, windmills, a large wooded area, and a cozy walled town at the center. Whereas the second area is more industrial, with a busy city, docks, and scrapyards. Playing the game initially, I was struck by how the difficulty started off very easy, but did not climb particularly quickly. In fact, the entire first area was pretty easygoing, even if in races you aim for the extra objectives of a quick time and collecting the KAT letters dotted around the track, which was kind of a Crash Team Racing throwback for me. CTR heads sound off in the comments. I was really enjoying the feeling of cycling around and exploring, so I was happy to file the game as an easygoing chill title. There was even an early race where I literally won without getting out of first gear, because I forgot the bike had gears. This first area has relatively simple tracks with mostly wide corners and AI races that are fairly simple to overtake and stay ahead of. However, the game opens up with the second map, which, while still not particularly taxing, does up the difficulty a bit. It has more hectic races with confined tracks that see you sometimes shoulder to shoulder with other cyclists, faced with tight corners or weaving through busy traffic in the city. I came across a good few races in this second area that required some restarts before I nailed them. Its 2 maps aren't massive, but especially the first map is great to just cycle around and look out for other cyclists to challenge to a quick one-on-one race. Cycling around Wheel World is a great mix of ambience, like hearing the bike change gears and the sound of tires over different surfaces, in combination with stuff like the sea breeze or leaves of trees rustling overhead. It's a great game to just chill out and explore. There's also a synth-pop soundtrack used in the races, provided by the Italians Do It Better record label, which was formed by Johnny Jewel, member of Chromatics and Desire. You've probably heard something by him or inspired by his sort of music. It's funny because I was thinking that the soundtrack sounded so familiar to me initially. It was giving me such a strong impression of like early 2010 synth-pop and elements of synthwave too. It clicked hard when I saw who was attached. If you like that kind of era of music, then this is a great throwback and mixes well with the relaxed feelings that accompany much of the game. I do sometimes feel like my brain has pigeonholed this sort of synth-pop and synthwave into nighttime music though, like Ryan Gosling and Drive sort of vibes, you know? Another key feature I haven't mentioned yet is that you upgrade your bike throughout the game and can either collect sets of parts to make a specific theme bike or create a horrifying Frankenstein's monster. There are lots and lots of bike parts to find dotted all over the map or obtained by winning races and completing objectives. You can get some funny looking bikes, which is nice. The hot dog bike or the gamer bike, there's some fun ideas in here for sure. though largely the progression system feels a bit too simple. Way too many of the bikes give you great stats without having to use gears. Real life bikes obviously have lots of gears, and shifting through them is part of the fun for me. In Wheel World, a few bikes have 2 or 3 gears, which makes riding feel a bit more involved as you change to go up or downhill, but the single speed bikes feel far too inert. I also found the decision to present legendary parts to the player in the first half of the game a bit puzzling, as these will make an already pedestrian game start to feel like a joke, since these parts will refill your boost throughout the race without the need to slipstream or pull off jumps. Later elements of challenge can feel a bit frustrating too, like the traffic in later races is randomized, and so there's an unfair element of RNG when it comes to weaving in and out of all these cars. Most other drawbacks I had with Wheel World are pretty minor too. I thought the final race was a letdown. It's a weird little rally that tours the map, broken up by some text box cutscenes. Its plot is pretty inessential, and I did like its core ethos and willingness to dip into fantasy, but I prefer a big, challenging race to finish things up. Relying on the emotional payoff of some text box dialogue didn't fully land for me in this case. An option to do a long rally race across the full map would be cool too, especially if there were some extra elements of challenge like a stamina meter and expanded gears. The second area's toxic, sewer, industrial vibes in general just didn't quite work for me as much as the initial countryside setting, even if the hard switch up is somewhat welcome as to create a pretty distinct map, and not one that recycles any ideas from the first area. Though it ties in with what the plot is saying about the value of people over corporations in the sports space, this more oppressive environment does clash somewhat with the chill biking that's core to Wheel World. Wheel World was a lot of fun for me. It delivers smooth biking with a selection of fun races across 2 decently sized maps. I definitely preferred its breezy summer holiday sort of tone that the first map had, over the dingy, polluted industrial area, despite the perhaps too easygoing difficulty of the first half of the game. For an indie title, this is quite impressive at times, and the core biking gameplay is fun. I crave a decent open world sort of biking or skating game, and unfortunately the only big studios making these sort of games are EA or Ubisoft, so as much as checking out Riders Republic or Skate 4 tempts me, I gotta trust my instinct that those games are probably just not going to live up to the promise. While my dream of Zelda Breath of the Wild with bikes was not fulfilled by Wheel World, a solid indie take on Forza Horizon or Burnout Paradise, but with push bikes, was still hugely appreciated by me. This is a game that I could see being really elevated by a sequel. Make this a bit more complex and add in some depth on top of the relaxing cycling vibes, and we could have a real winner on our hands. Of course, that's not to say Wheel World isn't really good as it is. I vastly enjoyed my time with it, and have even returned a couple times after finishing it just to roam the map and look for little courses and jumps. This is easily worth it at a discount. Driftwood popped up on my Steam some time ago when it was in early access, and I added it to my wishlist just on a whim without much research, because the general premise of sloths longboarding down sprawling roads seemed like it could be a really fun, sweet little game. I guess not specifically the fact that they're sloths, but the contrast between the famously slow animals and extremely fast longboarding is pretty funny. Early access still throws me off because I don't really want to pay for an unfinished product, but so many games will be out for years in early access in a near finished state. Ultra Kill is still an early access game and it came out like 5 years ago. Driftwood's out of early access now, and so I decided to give it a shot. Immediately, it didn't give off a great first impression due to the tutorial level being bugged, but a restart thankfully fixed this and I was left to let loose downhill. This is a pretty self-explanatory longboarding game. You start at the top of the huge hill and carve your way down. Managing your speed is essential, as well as nailing drifts. While I'm already bike pilled for Wheel World, I'm longboard pilled too. I think I'm probably too tall to be any good at regular skating anymore, or at least that's what I tell myself, but I still enjoy cruising around on a longboard. I keep mine in the back of my car just in case, you know. You won't see me doing any of this shit though. I'm shitting my pants if I started doing anything over 10 miles an hour down a hill. After the relatively chilled out experience of Wheel World, this game is a lot more involved and challenging right from the get-go. Thankfully, these are handcrafted levels rather than procedurally generated slop as well. Some really fun themes and lots of little shortcuts and alternative paths are available to make repeated plays worth it. This certainly looks like a Unity game. It's got that vibe, you know? You can smell it through the screen, but still, they do the job for a game that's laser focused on carving paths downhill. I think the painted skyboxes add such a nice feeling, and while the graphics are relatively simple, sometimes the game really gets in its groove with a nice sunset or midday blue sky. They really got the sort of breezy feeling you'd want from a downhill longboarding game. Its settings are derived from real-life locations, like the California coastline, Swiss Alps, or redwood forest. These are varied and grounded nicely in reality. This game controls pretty well. You control your speed by leaning forward or holding up your arms to increase drag. You drift with the shoulder buttons, but too much drift will send you spinning. Drifting feels good. It's like a balancing exercise where you have to judge corners coming up quickly and apply how much you want to lean into them accordingly. The grinding sound in combo with the controller vibration completes the satisfying feeling of it. It's fun to try and judge corners or snake down straights. It's a bit more challenging than you'd sometimes expect. It's definitely a lot more than just a vibe game, or God forbid, a funny sloth meme game. I think the least interesting thing this could have been was like a goat simulator style ragdoll thing. There is a bit of that if you crash and get sent flying downhill, but there's a good game at the core here. This game's soundtrack is like the uncanny valley of 2010s indie. All artists that kind of sound a lot like other artists, but I can't quite put my finger on it exactly. The vibe is nailed down, but the move is to turn the music volume all the way down and add in your own soundtrack. I spent a lot of the game switching the vibe from more chill lo-fi and indie tracks to pop-punk bangers. Lots of the story so far for me, bit of turnover, new jobs. We live in a time of absurd excess of choice, so why not take advantage of it? For the most part, Driftwood nails the sort of feel and vibes I would want out of a longboarding game. It's as chill or sweaty as you make it. It's still a bit buggy, sometimes in a charming, rough around the edges sort of way, but occasionally it did just fully bug out for me. Like this bit where the game randomly changed to an oval aspect ratio. It's a game made by just 2 people, so I can forgive the game for not being as polished as a bigger title would be. Is it worth it for the price? It's got a good amount of levels, which once again I have to highlight are actual levels designed by humans and not procedurally generated, like in similar downhill extreme sports games such as Descenders. It took me about 4 hours to unlock and play all the levels, though its primary value is more of a pick up and play title when you have some spare time and just longboard downhill a bit. There's a simple multiplayer function too, which is a nice addition. Works great as a hangout game. Its core longboarding does feel really great, and it's fun to chase high scores or try different wheel types, of which there's some really fun ones like sticks of butter. I'll heartily recommend Driftwood overall. It definitely emulates the sort of longboarding experience you get from watching those insane YouTube Daredevil videos. Curate your own soundtrack and just go all in as quickly or leisurely as you want to. I'm a little bit skeptical sometimes of these sort of indie games that seem engineered to be marketed via clips on Twitter or Reddit, but beyond its slightly memey sloth protagonist, it really is a lot of fun and not just a shallow experience. I've still been checking out a few demos of upcoming stuff, and here's one game in particular that recently caught my eye. It's called Project Turbo Blast. Let's keep the fast-paced racing theme going today. This is a high-speed arcadey racer that feels as much of a throwback to late 90s and early 2000s games, as much as it also is just kind of a timeless feeling title. I love the way this looks, and wait, not just because of these crazy proportions. I love the thick, cel-shaded look of the cars, bikes, and various effects. Then the levels feel like they're straight ripped from the GameCube or PS2 era. It's so funny that a bunch of people will see these characters and think, I'm gonna need mods day one to make things even bigger. But really, it's the gameplay that is the main attraction. It feels so tight to play with simple controls to get to grips with, but the intensity of the speed makes it one that's got a high ceiling to master. People clamor for a new F-Zero, and this seems to inspire similar feelings, without being an outright copycat. I felt a bit of OG Sonic Riders in this too. I also have to mention that the soundtrack seems pitch perfect for this sort of arcade style racer, thumping electronic tracks with beaming energy. It's already feeling so nice to play, a challenging but immensely rewarding racer that I'm very eager to play more of whenever the full game comes out. Yup, here we are racing an old CRT computer monitor around. This thing goes fast, man. So this is a game called Angel, which you can't Google. I think it's a game that searches for you rather than vice versa. I don't know what this aesthetic is called, but it's kind of like the Zoomer version of Vaporwave that I'm seeing more and more. I've been on this stuff since like Blank Banshee, Gemini by Machine Girl, and Vape era though, so I'm more than ready. It's some weird mix of Y2K and early internet aesthetics. I've noticed it getting a lot more common as we proceed through the 2020s. So Angel feels like such a PS2 era game. Essentially it's like an objective-based racing game. Plays a bit like a slippery Kirby's Air Ride. You go around cyberspace and complete objectives like a regular race, collect a bunch of checkpoints, or follow an NPC around the area. Sometimes it's a bit challenging and the objectives are a little unclear, but I thought it was a great ride. There's also the option to play the game without the exploration hub world bits, and just go race to race for a more pure experience. Part of the gameplay I enjoyed was a mechanic where you switch up and down between layers of the track to avoid obstacles and access shortcuts. It plays pretty good. I was having a lot of fun racing about in this kind of Y2 Y2K blissed out aesthetic. It looks really cool and has a mysterious feeling of glitchy decay present too. The soundtrack is full of jungle and drum and bass tracks. A couple of artists included that I'm already familiar with since they pop up on some playlists I listen to when I'm working. While listening to the music, there's also a rhythm game mechanic where you can go faster if you time certain button presses in sync with the music. I'll be real with you though, I can just about do one button press, so if they start asking me to do 2 or 3, then I'm dead in the water. Even in just this demo available now, there's a Tony Hawk's inspired mode which sees you looking to complete objectives and really nail the rhythm game aspect, which I can't do unfortunately. Nowadays, it feels like the internet I grew up with is long gone in favor of non-stop slop, where nobody knows what's real and just believes the lies that will help their team win the culture war topic of the week. Angel feels like an ode to the older, more optimistic version of the internet. It feels like exploring a world we used to know, only in an abstract PS2-ass way. I have high hopes for the finished product, and even this demo available, I recommend to anyone interested as it has well over an hour of content. Before we finish, I also wanted to give a quick little spotlight to this upcoming title called Cosmic Race. This is a sort of Mario Kart inspired title, a little bit of Jak X Combat Racing 2, or more specifically, if you're also one of the 20 people who played it, a Blur type racer. It's fairly simple and no frills aesthetically. The game's still a little rough around the edges as expected since it's unreleased, but I think even playing this pre-alpha build, it shows that they have the core combat racing style components right down. You cycle through different utilities and weapons as you race around a course that includes these interactive elements that you can trigger off, like causing some destruction or activating new hazards. I'm definitely more partial to racing games that branch off in this sort of direction that Cosmic Race goes in. I'm not too sure about some of its presentation and name, since it comes off a little generic if I was to judge a book by its cover, but I have nothing bad to say about the direction this seems to be going in with its gameplay. It's pretty promising and seems to be coming along great to be a really fun racing game pick. That's all for today. Hope you guys enjoyed and have come away with some recs. Let me know what games you've got your eye on right now, new or old. Let's put each other onto some cool stuff. Can't thank you guys enough for the continued support. Likes, comments, and subscribes are massive in terms of growing this channel. We're at 2K now, which is amazing. You guys rock for giving the channel a chance and sticking around for the different ideas I got cooking. I'm still learning the ropes of video production, and I wish I had more time just to make videos, but the direction we're growing the channel in will only lead to more and more opportunities. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys very soon in the next one.